To start out this assignment, you're going to need an 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11 black and white photograph of whatever portrait you want to draw, a pencil, a ruler, and then a 24 by 18 sheet of paper. Quick refresher on our ruler measurements. Remember that you're marking every ½ inch and inch in order to make sure that it's every ½ inch that the line is drawn. So really make sure you know where on the ruler you're marking. Alright, making a ½ inch grid on your photograph is fairly easy. You need to remember that a ½ inch mark is not just the between marks, but it's also the inch mark. So you're going to be marking here, the middle mark, as well as here, the 1 inch, here, the halfway point, and here, the 2 inch. So it's important that every ½ inch you're marking, not just on the ½ inch marks, but literally every ½ inch mark and inch mark to make sure that the whole grid is a ½ inch. To start with, we're going to make 3 sets of ½ inch marks. You start by lining the ruler up on your paper with 0, and you're going to mark every ½ inch, inch, 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 and continue it. Then you're going to move your ruler. It doesn't really matter the amount as long as you line up the 0 up here with the top of the paper, and you continue the ½ inch markings. And like I said, we're going to do 3 sets of these, so we make sure that your ruler is straight across the paper. Notice when I'm making the mark that the marks go away from the ruler. We want to make sure that when we mark with the line that we're pushing the mark away from the mark next to the ruler. If you go with the ruler this direction, you're not going to know where the mark was. So make sure that you're being precise. After we're done making our ½ inch marks, we are going to turn our ruler going horizontally because the marks mark the horizontal lines. You're going to line up the dashes that you made, allowing for them to sit alongside the ruler, and then draw the line. There you have a straight ½ inch line. And you're going to continue that ½ inch line all the way down the paper so that you have ½ inch horizontal lines. Alright, my horizontal ½ inch lines are done. Now it's time to do my vertical ones. Just go ahead and take your ruler the same way you did before. It's 3 sets of ½ inch again, lining up your ruler with the 0. And you're going to go down the center line of the ½ inch marks that you've already made, so that way you could actually see them. And you're just going to mark every ½ inch, just like you did before. And again, we're going to do 3 sets, just like you did before. Now that I have my 1/2 inch marks, again, I'm going to turn my paper because it's going to be going the opposite direction, and I'm going to line up my 1/2 inch marks that I've already made, and I'm going to draw them so that it makes my full 1/2 inch grid. Make sure to push hard enough so that you can actually see the lines that you're drawing. And continue on down your paper. Now I have a final 1/2 inch grid on my photograph. Next step, we're going to make our inch grid for me to recreate this drawing in a larger scale. If you're not using an 18 by 24 piece of paper and you want to continue this drawing on a grid that's the same size, you would do the exact same grid that we just did on a regular sheet of paper instead of a large sheet of paper at a 1/2 inch instead of a 1 inch. But because if you're in class, we're going to enlarge our drawings, you want to make sure that you use a 1 inch grid on the big paper. If you're online only and you wanted to make sure that you have the paper for it, which is an 8.5 by 11 regular copy paper, you're going to make sure that you do a 1/2 inch grid, again, like you just did, on a regular sheet of paper. Let me show you what a 1 inch grid on a large sheet of paper looks like and how to make it. Now we're going to be focusing on the inch marks and only marking on the number lines that are the large number lines, not the 1/2 inch and the number lines like we did before. All right, starting the 1 inch grid to enlarge your drawing, you're going to do the same as you did on the 1/2 inch grid, but now you're going to go ahead and mark every inch number line all the way down your paper, and you're going to do 3 sets, just like you did before. If you're using an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper because you're at home and you don't have large paper, you're going to use the 1/2 inch video again and just repeat what you did on your photograph. But if you're in class, you have big paper from me, so you're going to go ahead and just start marking your 1 inch grid. And remember, you're lining your ruler up the 0 with the edge and then marking every inch as you go down. Continue at 3 step. All right, our lines for our 1 inch grid are already done going one way. And now we're going to do the same thing in between a row 3 times so that we can see the inch going the opposite direction. So again, we turned our paper, turned our ruler. We're marking every inch mark going down our paper. We're going to do 3 sets of these. And just like before, then we're going to draw our lines. Now we move our ruler. We're going to pick a different line to go down, and we are making sure it's in the middle of the line, making sure the zeros lined up. The reason we're picking the middle of a line is so they're easy to see when we go to connect them. And then one last set, and we're going to connect our dots. All right, with our 3 sets of 1 inch marks drawn, you're going to go ahead and take your ruler, and just like you had done before, you're going to line up your marks and draw your line. When you get to the point where your ruler no longer reaches, you just move it, line up the 2 last marks, and continue to draw. All right, you continue to connect the dots and draw the lines down your page to make your 1 inch grid. Remember to keep your lines light so you can erase after you've drawn your subject. I'm making mine a little darker just so they show up on camera. And you continue that all the way down your paper. Now that my 3 sets are marked, I'm gonna go ahead and take my ruler, connect my dashes, and then of course when I get to where my ruler no longer reaches, I'm gonna move my ruler and continue the line. And I'm gonna do this all the way down my paper. All right, so here we have our 1 inch grid all done. We have our 1/2 inch grid for our photograph done, so we're ready to start drawing. Now you're ready to start your grid drawing. Look for the other videos of which ones you were gonna start so you could start figuring out how to put your drawing together.